said, be aware of our internet presence on FaceCrack. You will find out next week's feature is. This week's feature comes back to us all the way from Austin, Texas. Was the longtime host of the open mic at the Gallery Cabaret. I was getting it backwards. You know what I get it right. But anyway, is a poet of good grief. Way more voracious of a writer than myself. I've got like, I don't know, 4 books that I've put out. Then the real test is how many do you have that you haven't put out yet? I've got 3. How many books do you have that you haven't put out that you've like, I finished it, and then you put it away?
None.
Not, see, 3 times as many. Just, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to In One Ear and featuring for the first time ever, Jack Kuypers.
For those of you who do not know me, my name is Jack Kuypers. I am a Chicago resident. I have published books as a publisher. I've run 2 literary magazines. I took over David Rubin's, which was partially done by Charlie Newman, poetry open mic that ended up at Gallery Cabaret. Because of a job my job change with my husband, we had to leave, and I have moved to Austin, Texas in October 2015, which makes me very, very sad. But the only thing that was actually able to bring me back to Chicago was hearing that the total solar eclipse was going to be going through southern Illinois, and so we made a trip for that. I have a bunch of new pieces for you, and that lasts the lens, John. So much for solar glasses working, but I guess I will have 1 lens for my glasses now. But we made a trip. We left at 4 in the morning, drove 5 hours. We got there to have a view. I took over 700 pictures, but I took a screenshot of one of the shots that I had from it. For you to be able to see it. I got a screenshot, but the good camera, I couldn't get them all up on there. But in the middle of the night, Tuesday morning by 2 a.m., I was like, well, I should write something about this. So even though this isn't a part of my show, I wanted to start by sharing this poem with you that I wrote in the middle of the night. And it is called Knew I Had to Be Ready. Got a pair of those solar sunglasses the other day. I challenged myself to stare at the sun, and really, that's such an outlandish, crazy idea to begin with. But putting these glasses on made me blind as a bat until I walked outside and guessed where the sun was. And then I found it. And I was awestruck. Even though I didn't create those glasses, even though I didn't create this scientific tool, I suddenly felt like I could challenge the science gods. Yeah, just try to stun me again. I dare you. For the past 18 hours, we drove 6 hours both ways to get to the focal point for the longest duration of the total eclipse of the sun. I had a filter for my camera, and I even had my solar sunglasses, so I was ready for what I guess would be a half-hour show. And I may have been mistaken. It may have taken 3 times as long to watch the moon move its way in the opposite direction over how our sun danced its way across our daytime sky. So every 2 seconds I'd take a picture, then slide on those solar glasses and look up to see the crescent move with my own 2 eyes. Clouds moved in for a bit, and I was in a panic. Wait, those evil weather gods can't be doing this to me. They can't make me miss my chance. But as the clouds parted, the light cloud mist actually danced in front of the sun and the moon, adding wisps to their show. But I knew I had to be ready. It started getting darker and the winds picked up, and I knew that when that moon and sun would reach their total eclipse, that I had, well, less than maybe 2 minutes. So I had to remove the filter, change the aperture and the f-stop, and try to point and click. And I think I did a pretty good job. But all I could think was that when I saw this white ring and the sun's solar flares, each trying to tease their way around the moon from trying to block the view from the sun from one of its children, all I could see was that this ring of the fire and radiation was so crisp and vivid, and it reminded me of the intricacies of the human eye. When the iris colors dance in a circle like molecular fireworks or petals of a flower in full bloom. Taken aback, it was so breathtaking. And then I realized that there are as many atoms in the human eye as all constellations in the known universe. It seemed the sun's corona made me think of the cornea with all of its intricacies and its iris, and it made me wonder. They say the eye is the window to the soul. So, is my seeing my sun at its most naked moment? Was my sun somehow sharing with me, showing some of its secrets too? I've been trying to figure out my son's message, and I'll still keep trying to take science on, always daring it to finally reveal itself to me. Thank you very much. That was totally unplanned. But what I do have is a bunch of new pieces, because as I said, I have moved to Austin, Texas. And since then, I've been doing monthly features, and I've got a lot of material. If anybody is interested, however, I do happen to have older material that was done from a press here in Chicago, where all of this number of printed copies are all done on paper bags from grocery stores. It's called Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, right? So I've got these things, they're older ones, I've made $2, and they're numbered and signed. And actually, somebody said to me, wait a minute, if you feel this a lot, does it actually feel like human skin? And I said, well, $2 and you can find out if that's true or not. I don't know. But I've got a few copies of these if you're interested in any older pieces of mine.
Only $2.
Only $2, man. That's like a couple of those for a beer. I mean, come on, you can't even miss out on that one. But as I said, I was going to share new pieces with you because I had decided to release things into a couple of books for this return to Chicago. The thing was, my husband John came up with this word. If you have pheromones and you're attracted to someone because of their pheromones, maybe you could be attracted to their words or their ideas or their memes. So John came up with the word pheromemes. And I decided to release 2 little books of new poems from Texas. This is 2015 and 2017 poems of Pharaoh memes, and these are things that I have done for sites for open mics and the like, and all these things for features I've done 2015 and 2017 show poems as Pharaoh memes. They're only $10 each. And I was going to read a couple pieces from each of those for my show this evening for you, and thank you in advance for that. The first piece I'm going to do is something I did for a recent show, so this would be in my show poems. And it was for a peace feature, and it's called Protecting Peace Can Put You in Prison. The first Nobel Peace Prize was granted in 1901. The first Nobel Peace Laureate to die in prison was Karl von Ossietzky, detained by Nazi Germany. He died in prison in 1938. But there's a new death. Do not fret, because it seems that peace can be squashed in any millennium. Do you remember the Tiananmen Square riots back in 1989? Or at least maybe that iconic photo of the student in front of a tank? Well, the students didn't battle the Chinese government on their own and win. They had a little help from Liu Xiaobo. This man for peace was revered for his work, but the Chinese government stopped him in 2008 because he was drafting and promoting a manifesto for promoting peaceful political change. And for this, the Chinese government imprisoned him for subversion. Yes, for subversion, this man was sentenced to 11 years in prison, and it was while in prison he was granted the Nobel Peace Prize. During the Oslo Awards ceremony, they left an empty chair for their imprisoned man of honor. And now the Chinese government bears responsibility, more than for imprisoning a Nobel Peace Prize laureate who only promoted peaceful politics, but for failure to properly diagnose and treat his ailments, because on July 13th, this imprisoned Peace Prize winner died in detention of liver cancer at age 61. And sure, we can look around the room and think that we are nice to other people, that we respect other people. And we may think as we look around the room that other people feel the same way toward us. And it's wonderful to surround yourself with people like you, who think like you, who cushion you from anyone who may think any differently. Because when you stay in your bubble, everything seems fine. But it's only when we see those who choose to fight, those who are trounced upon and downtrodden only because they support a peaceful coexistence, that staying with supporters is seldom the solution. Peace with the ones you know is one thing. Peace with a mortal enemy is another, when others decide that you are at fault for some unknown reason. So maybe the key to promoting peace is not to share our ideas with those like-minded souls that you're near, but to find people least like you, religiously, racially, politically, and just extend your hand in peace, and then see who will take your hand. This was something that done for prompts at an open mic, and it's a short one called Ernesto. As my mother lay dying on the other side of the country, I tried to get a flight so I could see her one last time. But the ticketing attendant said that she couldn't help me, that I couldn't buy a ticket because of Hurricane Ernesto. So, because this hurricane was spiraling through my mother's town, our lives were spiraling out of control as we try to brace ourselves for losing our mother and picking up the debris from a disaster we couldn't control. I was then given a prompt to write pieces about having something foreign, non-human inside of the human body, something like that. And so I wrote a few, and this one is a perfect segue from that last piece because it is also about my mother, and it is called Quivering Against the Invading Enemy. Watching from afar, I was unable to remove the things from within my mother's human skin. The skin that held together the woman who took care of her husband and her 5 children. The skin that held together after the first invasion under her skin, battling breast cancer, cervical cancer. I've learned the science. It's only when certain cells in the body are changed and start to divide uncontrollably that you arrive to destroy us. Sounds simple enough. And with just a few rounds of surgery, you weren't there attacking her from under her skin anymore. And after 7 years, she was in the clear and didn't need to check in with the doctor again. Until 10 years, she felt tired, had a fever, and the doctor said, "It's funny, with that much cancer in her history, it kind of makes sense that you get leukemia." Funny, isn't it? Something managed to turn some of her cells into dividing fiends, so she just got rid of it. But trying to remove the devil from your blood is another evil, insidious, sticky story altogether. And she wanted to fight, but she saw the way her father fought cancer for 6 years. And she remembered his agony and how for the last 2 weeks of his life, she wanted her father to die just so that he was no longer in pain. It sounds cruel, but fighting an enemy in your blood will make the insane seem perfectly reasonable. So, remember, expect nothing less when you're suddenly fighting an enemy from within, when you're suddenly fighting an enemy from under your skin. Then I did another one. I found something inhuman under somebody else, and this one is titled, "The Truth Is Out There." We were of the same clan. We were of the same kin. We were brothers. Yes, we were compatriots, underlyingly, inextricably bound together. We're supposed to be so close, so I should know what happened inside you. I need to understand what changed you so deeply, how you lost your humanity. I scoured the world to try to learn what happened to you. We all noticed the change, that your sense of the world was always altered, even though we seldom remember a drink in your hand. The truth is out there, is what I hear, but is that the key to unlocking how you now relate to me? Is the truth not out there, but deep inside you instead? Or do you not see the change that has happened to your soul? Do you not see the changes under your skin? Something has infected you, or maybe you let it in, and it destroyed your business, your marriage, and any love you may have ever felt from your only daughter. I don't know if I can find the answers to unlock the now inhuman part of you. They say the truth is out there. If only I knew where to look, and if only you'd want to be found. And I figured if I'm going to be writing things about something inhuman in somebody else, I should write about something foreign and inhuman about me. So, I've got this one for you, and it is called X-raying Metal Under My Skin. I went to a back doctor where chiropractors twisted my back. I heard strings of cracks along my spine at every appointment. And at one point, they took an x-ray of my chest and back, checking for disc injuries and inspecting the curve of my spine. Went to the office. They brought me into a room, turned a light box on at the wall, placed my x-ray in the light, and asked, "What is this?" And they pointed to what almost looked like an angular spider missing a few legs in one of my veins. I stared for a moment, and then I think my eyes turned into saucers when I realized what this thing was that was inside of my body. "Oh, that's a Vena Cava filter," I said to them. "It was placed in me when I was in a coma, and they didn't know if or when I would ever wake up." And they just looked at me for a second till I said, "I've always wondered what that thing looked like." And although it's metal in my vein that would vibrate, tear through my veins to my heart, and instantly kill me if I ever had an MRI scan, though this metal was placed in my vein without my consent when I was in a coma, despite this, I wanted this x-ray so I could feel some sort of connection to this invader. I know it's only there to stop blood clots from traveling to my heart or lungs and brains that would kill me. I know it's only there to help. But this foreign object has taunted me for too many years now, planting seeds of distrust in the back of my mind. This microscopic monster was placed in my vein, driving this love-hate relationship I now have to this non-human object embedded deep inside me. I know it's there. At times, I think I can feel it. I think this metal mini spider is also scratching at my soul to remind me that something foreign has invaded me. I can't claw it out, and while I hate it and I need it, it always reminds me that there is something deep inside me that will invade me like this forever. Yeah, you already heard that I am an editor of Literary Magazine Down in the Dirt because he has submitted to that. It was originally a subset of the magazine CC&D magazine, Children, Churches, and Daddies, a magazine that usually talks about the dysfunctionality of those things. Which I have to clear up because back in the days when I'd get snail mail, I'd get, "Hi, I'm a Christian mother of 3 and here are my writing poems." And I'm like, nope, that's not it. Get it, never mind. But I have anniversary issues, and I'm bringing this up because in CC&D magazine 2015, the 23-year anniversary issue, I called it the 23 Enigma because there were all sorts of things that happened with related to number 23. Things like Julius Caesar is stabbed 23 times, there are 23 vertebrae in your back, blood circulates through the body every 23 seconds. I mean, there are so many odd little things, and people have birthdays, and you can say things like Werner von Braun of the SS. His birthday's March 23rd, and I thought, how appropriate then to get a picture of Werner von Braun of the SS for my cover for this issue. And the Reader's Magnet, I believe, is an organization that had people who had looked at and studied and reviewed different books globally, and they had decided that this book plus 9 others were chosen to be displayed with them through the International Frankfurt Book Fair for 2017. And I'm like, awesome. And how appropriate it's going to be in Frankfurt if that was actually there. I thought that was a rhyme to hear that one. But the next 2 poems that I wanted to read for you happened to be in this book, and that was just why I was sharing that little nugget with you. And by the way, if there was anybody that would like to submit writing to it, come and bother me because I would love to share it with you. I believe that first poem from the First Lady about that, I don't know if it was in progress, about broken body like a car. That was a pretty good one if you want to send it to me. And that piece, I guess it would be for Down in the Dirt. If you don't want to send it to CC&D, that's fine. The second piece about people mistake me for someone else. Might want to consider sending that one to me and we can look it over, although I've got so much work to do since I'm missing all of this stuff this week. See? What? So, anyway, I wanted to share with you these 2 poems, which also appear in my poetry books, and only $10. And this is another one, Yippee, that starts with the letter X. This one's called X-Rays and Broken Hearts. X-rays of small children show 2 rows of teeth, because once baby teeth are too small for the child, adult teeth push through those baby teeth out and they break through those gums and take over the job. And this is really remarkable. I mean, it's not like your hair that you can always grow out. And even though skin is the largest organ for the human body, it's not like shedding skin and growing more skin. It's not like cutting yourself and watching an organ heal. These are bones, because your body knows before you're born what you need in life. And I wonder why genetics hasn't figured it out, that we humans may need a new heart, a backup, after it has been broken too many times. Because after you've been fired and someone there watches you collect your belongings and escorts you out forever, or after you've sent out, you can't remember how many resumes, and even after you've been interviewed, they never want you back, or after you find your one true love, well, that's when they move away to get away from you forever, or after your family dies and you're alone. after it feels like your heart is always about ready to break. It makes me wonder why genetics hasn't figured it out. We might need a backup. Our heart can only take so much. When I got to Austin, when I was new there, because I didn't like leaving my favorite city, Chicago. And by the way, I am so thrilled as a vegetarian to be coming by Heartland Cafe, and this is the awesomest thing. And thank you all so very much for this. Thank you, thank you. But this is something that you can tell I was shaky and sad about having to leave. This is a piece that is called Unique Noise. I have shared my call with the world, and for those close who listened, they responded, so I shared, and we were happy. Now that I've stepped onto foreign soil, I suddenly feel so alone. There is no one for me to call to. I'm lost with no chance for me to share my soul. I recently heard of a lonesome whale in the Pacific. His mating call is 52 hertz, which is higher than any whale can hear. Navy researchers studied this one noise, this one unique noise, for years. And as far as they could tell, no one, only one whale made this call. And I've been pacing my apartment, thinking about this one lost whale, wondering, are they lonely? Are they bound to be this way forever? And I think I'm beginning to understand that pit in your stomach feeling, that loneliness that won't go away, because when you look around, you see no one. And I want to swim to the deepest depths of the Pacific, look for who is lost, and that they have to be there somewhere. Let me find them. Let me tell them they're not alone, even if I am. But I know this would be a useless battle. If I ever found them, they wouldn't hear me. I wouldn't be able to help, and we would remain together, but alone. Because now that I am on foreign soil, I've forgotten how to stretch my hand, hoping someone will want to take it. So I stand here, far too alone, and far too frightened to feel free. Thank you. And I am in April for National Poetry Month. I did a feature and I decided to do them all as erasure poems. And if people don't know what an erasure poem is, it is if you take a well-known document or a speech or whatnot and you print it out and you erase, you block out certain words, you create something new from what you have left. So when I was in India, actually, in 2015, I'm walking along the Bay of Bengal, and there are a bunch of statues of prominent people, and one of them was a poet, Sri Sri from that area, and he was a poet that said, and this plaque in Hindi and in English, that modern poetry was his forte, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I found one of his poems, I found a translation of it, and I even, this is how I did it. I blocked it out to be able to come up with new type for it. But this is an erasure poem based on Sri Sri's poem from India. This is called Erasure Poem, A Poetic History. History, proud of exploitation of others. History, an exercise in mutual destruction. History, drenched in the blood of war. History, made slaves of the meek. Murderers climb to glory. Entire past is wet with blood, if not with tears. Decimated populations echo history. Connivance, jealousies, conflicts prove the course of history. Grand murderers and thugs built a bridge of swords to time. Artificial laws with other forces fell down as houses of cards. The deception, the heinous crimes of the mighty, the schemes can't be allowed. Exploitation of one person by another, one race by a different race can't go on. All the downtrodden people, the different races and all continents will broadcast in one voice the true nature of history. Which battle took place? Which kingdom lasted how long? The dates, the documents, they are not the essence. Stories hidden under dark corners of history are wanted. Truth won't hide by being hidden. In the twilights of history, what is the development of the human? What achieved grand truth? Which sculpture? What literature? Which science? What music? Which renunciation? Which dream? Chapbooks of shows, but since I've got books to sell, I'm not going to do that. But if there is anybody who wants a copy of all of the erasure poems that I did in July, I've got a copy of the chapbook. That piece is in it as well as other pieces. I've got Hitler talking about how cool art is, or I make the Declaration of Independence, the thing about women's rights, or I have to think about Casey Anthony in here, but I've got a copy. If anybody wants to bug me, you can actually get that one for free. You'd be skippy. And this next poem, yeah, you'll have to bug me afterward for it. And this next poem is something that I did for a show, which I have to get my show book out for you. And that is the bottom one, of course. Because I did a show about different forms of love. You can have love for a human, a family member, love for religion, philosophy, nature. And I decided to do this one piece about it called Just One Book. It's not this book, but I'm just using it as a prop, so you can think it's this book because I can show it off. This is called Just One Book. I wore my sister's communion veil, playing dress-up in my imaginary wedding. I read my older sister's prayer book, wondering who could hand me my answers. But mangled in a maelstrom of religions, I was left lost, searching for salvation. After years ticked by, it was only then when my Judeo-Christian boyfriend gave me a book. It didn't quite fit in with his beliefs, but he told me to give it a read. Now, I remember reading books where I'd have to tell myself to read 50 pages a day just so I could get through it. And after reading any passage, I honestly couldn't tell you a thing about what I read. But this one book, it actually spoke to me philosophically, and it managed to show me how to live. I didn't think it could be possible to get so much from just one book, but it's true, and afterward I swooped up as much reading as I could on the subject, but it still stuns me that just one book could put me on a track to how to think through life. It became suddenly, it made sure that all of my reasoning actually made sense. With this one book, I learned how to fit the pieces together, and suddenly my life made sense. I didn't think that just one book could actually do that to a person, but I am a living testament to the message. Like I'm placing my hand on a Bible, I will swear to this day that just the right book in just the right hands of just the right minds can really give the world clarity and transform everything perfectly. People always ask me what the book is, and I say, it's different from every person. I can't tell you what that book is right now. But this is my last piece. Thank you all again so very much. If anybody wants to hear anything older of mine, you'll have to ask me or something. But this is a short one. I wrote this for the Georgetown Poetry Festival that's coming up this October. The title is Returning to Georgetown, but this can honestly talk about any place for any one of us. So I hope you enjoy it. This is a short piece called Returning to Georgetown. Everyone is used to the noise, traffic rumbling down the roads, airplanes arcing overhead. But avoid what man has done, that human cacophony of clutter, and come over here instead. It almost seems like a sacred place. Stand still and listen to the birds' symphony as they sing from the tops of trees. Then actually just look over to the plants near your feet and catch the crickets' percussion. What is a car for when you have these? Look around and ask yourself, is there any place else you need to be? Or anything else you'd really rather do? Take a deep breath. You've found that right here has everything you need. Welcome home. We've missed you.